Hey everyone, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you the work I've done in completing the build of this standard gauge On30 crossing for Woodman. And I'll take you through and show you the gapping and the guardrail, or for the guardrails, and how I got the wiring done and what I'm doing. So, hope you come along. So, marking these with what watercolor wire I'm going to use for the connection. And I use red for the rear and black for the front. And these are my connectors here. Just to kind of give you an idea where I'm going with this. So what I did is I cut a gap. I used this template here for the gap ties. Use it as an example. I've done this a little differently in here. They're kind of doing this as both O scale and or O standard and O standard, and I'm doing O standard and On30. Now you see on the gaps, I have the two outside ones have a gap, and then you gap the joiner between the two. But when I did that originally on this layout or on this crossing, I had a short hair, and this seemed to me to be too long of a space in here, too long for it to be a dead rail. Basically, you would not have any power to this rail if you didn't separate these, because you got a black and you got a red, and you got one on each. You got one here and you got one here. So I didn't like that idea, and I had it already done, so I changed it. I gapped this one here, and then I actually cut a gap in here in these corners. Tried to make it as small as possible, but so then I actually have an extra gap here and here. And I'm thinking of maybe filling some of these places where, like this, with just use some styrene, some old 40,000 styrene. I think maybe 40,000 works here, but whatever. And then just epoxy that in and go with it from there. Now I've got these two set here. This is standard gauge. I gotta do my guardrails here next. So anyway, so because now these are going in, and I had gap. This one I kind of went across here. I goofed that around, but this one here I cut up this one and this one, and these I kind of cut a little closer to the rail. And maybe I shouldn't have done that. Now that I'm adding the guardrail in here, and these two here are okay, but this one looks like maybe it's going to be underneath. I'm going to have to watch that, and I may have to re-gap it. Yeah, it's quick, but so anyway, that's where I'm at. I got the ties down. I did a little cleanup on the solder. It's not very good here, but hopefully I can sand some of that down and make it look a little better, so it doesn't look quite so sloppy. I like to solder, but I'm just not very good at it. Need more practice. It's one of the reasons I'm doing something is try to build my skill set up. And I've never made a crossing before. I've done some turnouts, but this is my first crossing, and it's an unusual one in that it's narrow gauge and standard gauge. So it's a matter of juggling around and trying to not make too big of mistakes and being able to recover from your mistakes, as it is with any project, I suppose. So I'm going to go ahead and solder these in place, and then we'll get back to you. I think it's finally time to get this thing off the board and get her ready to take over to the layout. See what I got to do over there. I had a little trouble with trying to get this the right. You got to be careful getting your gaps in here right. So you can maintain the gauge all the way through, but you also want to have flange clearance. The On30 was no problem. I must have got that right. Probably, and also I think the flanges are probably a little thinner, so maybe they fit. But these I've got kind of had to do a little grinding to get right in here to get it to fit just right. The other thing, I have tester, and I don't think I have any. I don't have any shorts. This is a short or a connector here, but this is black and black, so that's not going to be a problem. This track will be turned off. Remember I'm doing single cab control, so this will be turned off coming into this, and so now I just pour some isopropyl alcohol, 91 proof, 91%, and we'll just let that soak a little bit. And what I've done is I've attached this template with a spray adhesive, so we'll see how that goes. Oh yeah, pops right off, nice. This also takes, alcohol takes off the flux afterwards, cleans it up real nice. Here I am at the layout where the crossing is going to fit in. This is the On30, and then here is the standard gauge. Now it has to fit in between here and here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove both turnouts. And what I had done as a temporary, I had put this short section in here as a temporary so I could run my narrow gauge, run the Dinky while I was waiting to do this. So what I'm going to do, and I put this cork road bed in, and I ramped it up to the full height, and then back down this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to line it up with what this level is here at the standard gauge. And so what I'll do is I'll take these out, take all this out, and then I can take out the center section and then find the level between these two areas. Now it fits good. So what I'm going to do is to ease this a little bit, make this a little smoother through here. Maybe this isn't quite the transition I want, is I'm going to pull this rail, pull these spikes out back into this curve, and then redo this curve a little bit so it's a little easier going into the straight section over the crossing. And then the crossing goes back, there's a turnout back there, and then another turnout here. This is for the this track. It actually is the runaround past the depot. The back one back here would be for the freight station, and the front one would be for the passenger station. And this also is a stockyard back here. So, and then off to Minneapolis and St. Paul that way. Okay, so kind of summary. I have all the rails soldered, the guardrails soldered, everything's gapped. No shortage that I can find with the meter. I got my wiring on here. What I did was I think I gapped too. I put too many gaps in, like these here didn't really need to have a gap. But I'm not going to go back through and and replace these. So I just put a jumper through there, and so I got a mess of wires coming down. This is for the standard gauge. These two right here set, and then these two here would be for the narrow gauge. These two bundles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run them through the layout, through the top of the layout, and then underneath I use these Wago lock nuts. Where locking nuts. It's just they work very no soldering, and then you just run the feed right into the center, and turn on this old power pack, black to black, set down at 20 volt. Right there, right there. Continuity all the way through. I don't have this hooked up to the meter, but you see how it's going to work. It looks like a mess now with all the wiring. Oh, it is a mess. Ever have one of those projects that you start and it kind of just kicks your butt going on? It just gets to be way more complicated, more difficult than you thought when you first started. That's kind of what this one's been for me. I got it cleaned up and I got it put together and it's ready to go. I dry fitted it on the layout ready. So I cut the rails, got the rails the right length and stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and end part 2 here so that I can just go ahead and I'll do a part 3 of the installation, show you how that works, kind of keep that up so I don't have too much time between the videos. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. I appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.